Hosting of medical websites. Well, chances are that you have a superficial understanding of what's going on in that department, and that's fine because your core business is elsewhere. What it often is just a series of subcontracting agreements where someone is selling you hosting, and then somewhere on the planet, your website is physically sitting on a computer in a data center, but it's not really clear who's responsible for it. And it might be sitting on a server with, well, let's put it politely, some really nasty content that is being flagged all over the place as suspicious. And your website, as a piece of software, could be running on a device that's also doing things that are not very nice. Now, why is that important? Because Google is looking not just at your website, but it's also looking at the physical address of your website. And if you happen to be sitting on, well, not you, if your website happens to be sitting on a server that's actively doing all sorts of spammy things or distributing unethical content, then Google will make a mental note of that, and it might affect your ranking. And the same goes for loading speed and how far your data center is from your location. If you're in Sydney and your website is in Kuala Lumpur, well, that'll obviously affect your visibility. So that's what often website hosting is. What it should be is a really clear arrangement with a professional company that is able to tell you, look, your website sits in this data center at this location at a minimal distance from where your patients are. So the loading speed is okay, the software is recent and up to date, and it's not in some rundown old basement. So if the power falls out, your website is gone. No, you want to make sure your website is in a really high-end data center. So that's what it should be. Let me tell you what it can be. It can be all of that. The excellent data center, the backups, and excellent technical health for your website. It can also include monitoring the actual performance of your website. How do patients land on your website? How does your website relate to the competing websites in your catchment area? How well is your website performing when it comes to the essential services that you're offering? Are you visible on Google? Are you following the latest Google best practices in terms of organizing the content on your website? What are people doing on your website? Are they staying or do they leave straight away? Are they clicking through to your About profile and then do they make an inquiry? Do they visit other pages? What are the most popular topics on your website and how can you build more of those? Ideally, your maintenance, your website hosting includes a firm strategy to actually look at why you have the website in the first place. It's a bit like bringing your car to the car mechanic who would just do all the bits and pieces. The one thing you want to know when you leave the garage or the workplace is that this car will take you safely and in a reliable way from A to B. So that conversation is an important one to have with whoever is doing your medical website hosting. And if you haven't had the conversation in the last 6 months, if you don't even know the person who's responsible, I invite you to have the conversation today.